Need expert commercial finance brokers? Real Finance are a national firm led by seasoned bankers, offering unmatched expertise and extensive networks. They understand business and the banking market inside out, using their knowledge to structure and present your borrowing requests for the best income. They have strong relationships with specialist lenders eager to support entrepreneurs and businesses, providing unique and competitive financial solutions designed specifically for you. Ready to elevate your business? Contact Real Finance today and they will achieve your financial goals.
Hello, welcome back to the Mums in Property podcast. We're your hosts, Jade and Chloe.
Thank you so much for joining us today. And today we have got our very first guest, Lydia Rock, joining us from our headline sponsors, Real Finance. Lydia is a specialist commercial broker and she works at Real Finance, and she's got a great story to share with us today about her journey into motherhood and working and her background. So thank you for joining us today, Lydia. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you for having me. It's good to be here.
No, thank you very much. So do you want to just give us a introduction about yourself and a little bit about your background, who you are, sort of where you've come from and what you've done, so the listeners can understand what it is that you've been doing?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm originally from Chesterfield. You wouldn't think so talking with this accent, but yeah, I've spent quite a few years down in the Midlands, and when I was coming to the end of finishing school, I don't know whether you'd be too young to remember this. Do you remember Record of Achievements?
Yes.
Do you remember them?
Yeah, we had them still.
We
had
did,
them.
yeah.
Yeah. I can just...
Don't think there was anything in mine.
No.
Blank pages.
Yeah.
I've still got mine actually, and I can just remember I always wanted to be a secretary.
Oh, really?
And when I look back at it now, it's got year 9, year 10, year 11. I want to be a secretary. I want to be a secretary.
So you were consistent.
Yeah, exactly. I wasn't a fan of school. I just wanted to get out working.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
couldn't
same.
wait to leave. And I went and did my work experience at an engineering firm and loved
I was about to
it.
say, was it a secretary role?
It was,
Yeah,
I
good,
was, secretary role. And they actually took me on when I left school. And back then you could do, it was like a day release. You did one day at college.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I did that and did my MVQ in admin. What I've found is, especially in corporate world, is that I think if you do want to progress, you've got to be willing to be full-time.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, put the work in, which when you've got children is difficult.
Yeah.
So fast forward, and because I'd got a supportive partner who could see I wanted to progress, I think that really is key and makes all the difference.
Yeah.
And we've spoke about this before, haven't we? It's like you have children and it's like a misconception that people think that your ambition just goes away because all you want to think about is your child. But actually sometimes because your why is now stronger because you've got children, your ambition grows.
Yeah.
And so having that supportive partner who could recognise that you've still got your needs and wants and you're not just a mum.
Yeah. It makes a world of difference.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of people probably park it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because they haven't got that supportive partner. So I was really lucky and fortunate in that respect that a job came up to support the managers within the department I was in. And it was full-time Monday to Friday. And I was like, look, you know, I really want to go for it.
What age was your second child at this point?
So this is the thing. She was just over 1.
Yeah.
So it meant she would have to go into full-time nursery.
Yeah, and it's a big decision, isn't it?
Yeah.
We've spoke about that.
Yeah.
But
And I think, did you have any guilt when you put your youngest into full-time nursery? Because I know I went back to work 3 months full-time, straight into full-time with my youngest, and I had a lot of guilt there. But it still didn't stop me from doing it. Do you know?
No.
Because you have to do it. No choice to do it. So I just wondered, did you have any guilt there or?
Yeah, I mean, you know, every day in out, you know, leaving her from like 8 in the morning till 6 at night. You know, it's a long exhausting day for them, isn't it? And then you get in from work, you've had a stressful day. It's like bath, bedtime, they've had the tea at nursery.
Yeah.
And, you know, you start again the next day. And
It's full on,
It's
isn't
just a
it?
conveyor belt, isn't it? Like,
yeah. And it is, you know, sometimes, say if I did have the odd day off in the week and I'd go shopping or out for lunch and take Chloe when she was a baby, you know, you'd see other mums, and I'd quite often find myself thinking, oh, you know, I wonder if they've got, you know, they're working full time.
Yeah.
Must be what they do every day.
Yeah.
But then on the other hand, you are building for the future,
Yes.
aren't you?
Yeah.
And you want to do it as well, like if you wanted to go into that new role, etc.
Yeah.
Get that balance right all the time, isn't it?
There's got to be an element of sacrifice.
You're still you. You're still like.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
You're not just a mum.
Not just a mum. No.
You said the exact same. You said when you did it, it was the sacrifice for now.
Yes.
For the long term
goals. Yeah. Because like for me, I guess I wanted like financial freedom, more time, but you've got to make them sacrifices sometimes, haven't you?
Yeah,
just to get there. It's not long term.
No.
Yeah.
Exactly right. So that's really where things started progressing. And then I went on management courses at the AA, and then progressed and got one of the manager's roles in the sales department. So it was worth it.
Yep.
A couple of years later, I worked in the membership sales department. It was announced that that department was moving to our Cheadle office.
Oh, okay.
So of course there was 10 teams at Oldbury where I worked. So they put up voluntary redundancy.
Oh, okay.
So I thought, I've been here 13 years.
Yeah.
I think now may be the time to put myself forward.
And go for a new challenge.
And go for a new challenge. If I hadn't have got to that level, I wouldn't even have been in the mix for the redundancy. I wanted to come back to Derbyshire, get out the rat race, so to speak.
Yeah.
And for the children to have nicer surroundings and, you know, the open countryside and...
Close to the Peak District.
Exactly, yeah, just a different kind of life.
Yeah.
One thing I've picked up on then, you know, you said, I think you've taken an opportunity there and you've seized it, which is kind of, a lot of people would have been a bit daunted by that and think, oh no, like a bit like insecurity, is that the right word? Like insecure what's happening and things, whereas you've seen an opportunity to kind of, and taken advantage of that and to get back to where you want to go and follow kind of your dreams or your goals type thing.
Yeah.
That's really inspirational, that.
Because the human race likes familiarity.
Yes.
Familiarity.
Yes. Yeah.
So often we put up with circumstances, whether that's a job, a relationship, or living circumstances.
Because you're in your comfort zone and you can step
it's
stepping
safe,
out.
even if it's not an always safe situation.
That is a good.
It's something
safe
you know.
Zone, yeah.
So you stick with it, and that's why people don't like change, because change is daunting, like you've just said.
Yeah.
So yeah, absolutely, it's to see it as an opportunity.
That's really
when you've got a young family, and not only to take redundancy but consider relocation.
Yeah, that's it. You know, and I was very fortunate that Darren, my husband, he was still working at the AA, and he was on board with it.
Amazing.
And he didn't know the village I wanted to move to. You know, he didn't know anybody, you know, apart from me. I took my redundancy, we put the house on the market, and we found a bungalow in Clown, which was really run down. So we couldn't live there for a good few weeks, so we were kind of commuting between Birmingham, Doncaster. His parents lived in Doncaster at the time. And he was still working at the AA.
So again, juggling.
He was working nights at the time.
How old were
It was a nightmare.
How old were the children? Were they in school? Was one of them in school?
So Chloe, the youngest, was 3.
Yeah.
Coming 4. So she started reception when we moved up.
So she was kind of not impacted by it really. Yeah.
And then Ellie, she was 8.
Yeah. And how did she settle in?
Really well.
The change.
Yeah, I can remember when we were leaving the house down in Birmingham, and she'd had her last day at school, and I can remember her being in her bedroom, everything was stripped down, and she was like crying, I'm going to miss my friends.
Aww.
And I felt horrendous.
Guilty, yeah.
I felt so guilty. I thought, do you know what, this is my dream, and I'm taking her away from her friends and what she knows.
Yeah.
But she was still young. And
Kids are adaptable.
Yeah.
They're adaptable. And I thought, you know, she's adapted so well when me and my first husband split up. You know, she's had to deal with that. And I just had to tell myself that it was it was for the, the better really, because in the future, bringing my children up
We're a better
here.
lifestyle.
Yeah, exactly. They've had more freedom. They could walk to and from school when they were younger, and the school was on the estate. Whereas down where we were living in Birmingham, I know things can happen anyway, crime and that. But I wouldn't have felt so comfortable giving them that amount of freedom, if I'm honest.
You had to look forward and make that executive decision, knowing that it would be right for your family.
Yeah, that's it. And it wasn't easy. Darren, for my husband, he continued working at the AA, doing 4 on 4 off nights. Commuting.
Was he travelling?
Yeah. So
Which is stressful
really
for you
hard.
both, isn't it?
Really hard on him. So after a time, he negotiated to leave and got another job in Sheffield, so obviously that's much nearer.
Yeah.
He's been there ever since. He's a creature of habit. He doesn't like change.
Yeah. But he has gone along with change. He's relocated and moved jobs and supported you. So after leaving the AA then, when you moved location, is that when you went to work for Real Finance?
The estate agents who were doing the viewings when we were looking for a property, the bungalow that we purchased, the estate agent said, "Oh, so what are you doing for work when you move up here?" And I said, "Oh, well, I think I'm just going to have a bit of me time with the girls and get them settled." I said, "And I want part-time. I think because I'd been in the corporate world, full-time, it can be stressful. You're spinning loads of plates. I want to go part-time again and just see where I go."
Yeah, get your head together.
Yeah, exactly. And he was like, "Oh, well, I'm looking for someone part-time. Have you ever worked in financial services? We've got Yorkshire Building Society Agency." And I said, "Oh, no." He said, "Well, I'll tell you what, when you finish doing your viewings today, pop in, get a form and...
have a chat."
Yeah, we'll have a chat. And then that was it. So
again, it's just opportunities, it by having them conversations.
Yeah.
Right place, right time, right person.
And taking action on it and following up and
Yeah, exactly.
Because a lot of people, I think, get opportunities, but then they're a bit daunted and they don't take action on it right away. So then they go.
And they lose it.
Yeah.
Exactly. After about 6 months, really, I was starting to get a bit like,
itchy feet.
It's really quiet. It's a village. You might only have 3 or 4 customers on one day, and I'm like used to doing,
fast paced.
Yeah. And he said to me, "Oh, why don't you look into being a mortgage advisor?" I thought, I suppose I could do. So I signed up online to do my CMA.
Oh, yeah.
Which is Certificate in Mortgage and Advice Practice. Yeah. And I did that in my own time from home over about 12 months. And I actually used to come to Doncaster to do my exams.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Good for you.
Yeah, so I did that.
Constantly putting yourself out of your comfort zone.
Yeah.
And challenging yourself and rather than thinking I can't do that or when would I find time for that, just thinking I want to do it.
Want to do it, yeah.
And I'll find time.
Yeah.
Exactly.
When did you do that then? So did you do that once the kids were in bed? How did you how did
you find time?
Yeah.
I did some of it within the work day. Okay. And then I was working 3 days, so I had 2 days at home.
Was it the company that you worked for? They said, "Why don't you do your
It was just a mortgage advisor who rented a room in the estate agent. Okay, so he was separate, self-employed, and he just mentioned the idea. So I paid for it myself, signed up for it, but then obviously the estate agents then got wind, and they were thinking
she's going to leave.
This could fit in quite well because the guy that was there, he didn't do the leads for the estate agents. He was more a financial advisor, so he was more interested in his pensions and investments.
Yeah.
So there was a real gap. So I did my CMA. That was about 12 months. And then the estate agents said, "Well, we will join a network and you can be an advisor, mortgage advisor under a financial network."
Yeah, so under their advertising or for them?
So it would be based in their estate agents, and then I would be an appointed representative of a financial network.
Working group.
Because obviously they look after all the compliance, you use their system.
The regulations.
Exactly. So they paid for the fees for that, and then we had like a commission split. So I was self-employed on that part then, but I was still doing the Yorkshire Building Society.
So you did like a split role type thing,
So I'd
which
still
is a
got
good
bit of
idea, isn't it? For someone looking to maybe start something new, whether that's their own business or a new role. Like, don't just think I've got to give up everything, the role that's currently paying my bills.
Yes.
Because there are options. And again, it just comes down to having that conversation, doesn't it? And just trying to work out what will work for you and prioritise. Because you could have quite easily thought, I've got 2 very young children. One, I'm in a new village. My partner, whether he was still down in Birmingham or had moved at that time, but it's a lot to juggle, isn't it? And then taking on not only a new role, but then a new course.
Yeah.
But it's just working it around your family needs, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it just shows that you can do it and it is possible.
It can be done, yeah. That's it.
So then you went on to do the mortgage advisory.
Yes. So I was self-employed.
Yeah.
And that went on for about 5 years. I think in the end, being in a small village, obviously property prices aren't, that high, so you kind of got a lot of your first time buyers, and going back then a property might be 60,000-70,000. So the income from it wasn't great.
Yeah.
And then when you take out
Is it a percentage of the commission then? Is that how it works?
Yeah, so a lender will pay a procuration fee
Okay.
based on the loan amount.
Right.
And because it was a small village, I never felt that I could charge a big broker fee.
Yeah.
Because it used to, it would put people off. I did that for 5 years, and then I just thought, do you know what? I've had a good go at this. I'd built up some residential clients, but I felt quite on my own because I was under this financial network. I could call head office up if, I wanted to run something by them, or if I wasn't sure on something, but I didn't feel that I had that mentoring
Yeah.
and that support.
Yeah, and that's quite daunting, especially in a new career as well, isn't it? And being self-employed.
Exactly, and there was a lot of work involved with it. So I used to do appointments on an evening when the children were in bed. Again, my husband would be at home looking after them. I just thought, that I think the time's right now to leave. Yeah, I left all on good terms. No one took my place at the estate agents, and that was it. And I thought, I'm going to have 6 months off.
Oh, wow.
Wow, yeah.
I just need a break, really. And I was looking on Indeed, and I saw the advert for Real Finance, and it was commercial support officer. And I thought, well, I've never done commercial, but maybe I should spread my network.
Because you'd never done mortgages until you did it. So
I thought, it's finance. I can transfer skills and knowledge from this into commercial world. And I thought, you know what, I can probably learn a lot from this new role.
and I've got a lot to offer. And just for anyone listening that maybe isn't in property, like, what is a commercial support officer, or what does it mean when it says commercial broker?
So commercial, I was supporting George as a broker.
Like the actual specialist brokers?
Yeah, exactly. And it's kind of evolved the role over the last nearly 6 years now. But so commercial is, you're looking at buy-to-let properties, anything that's non-regulated. So it may be premises for a business.
Okay.
Which you run your business from there. It could
So like an
be
office?
An office,
Okay.
yeah. It could be a barber's, hairdressers, beauticians.
Warehouses,
yeah. It covers portfolio landlords. So your landlords who've got 4 or more properties.
Like Jade?
Oh, wow. Brilliant. We've got a portfolio landlord here. I did not realise. It's helping them, and then it's bridging, development finance. There's so many, different arms of the commercial specialist world. I'd say anything unregulated,
Yeah.
and it's not vanilla, straightforward residential.
Yeah, so anything that you're looking to buy yourself to live in would be a vanilla residential.
Regulated, where you would want a mortgage advisor like what I used to do.
Yeah. And anything outside of that would be a commercial special.
Commercial, yeah, space. So.
And what, again, like for people that are listening, like what actually is bridging finance and when would it be used?
So, bridging finance, there's a whole host of places when you'd use it. So, if you'd got an investor who was looking at buying a property at auction,
Okay.
you quite often have a 28-day completion rule that you have to
So
meet.
for speed, I guess.
For the speed, yeah. So you're not going to be able to get a mortgage through in that amount of time.
Yeah.
So that's where bridging finance would come in. It's quick, fast money.
Yeah.
It is more expensive.
Yeah.
But the end goal is you're not going to have that finance in place for a long amount of time. We have clients who use bridging for buying rundown properties. So it may not be...
Oh my God, that's my stomach rumbling. Can you hear that?
I didn't hear it, did it?
I heard it.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
You've got better hearing than me.
I'm like holding it in. Sorry.
No, it's fine. So you might have clients who are looking at purchasing rundown properties where they don't qualify for a mortgage.
Okay. Yeah, because they're
Property isn't mortgageable.
Yeah.
Not habitable, exactly. Bridging finance is suitable because then what you'll find they'll want to do is purchase the property, then they'll refurb it.
Yeah.
They've probably researched the area, I would imagine, or they may have used a property sourcer who's researched that area. So they'll know once they've refurbished that property.
You're looking at Chloe there.
Yeah, that was a bit of a for you. They'll know once it's refurbished, the gross development value, the end value, will be, so much greater. And what they'll want to do then is refinance that property on a buy-to-let term mortgage.
Yeah.
Release some equity.
Exactly right. Yeah, and then that gives them funds for their next
project. And it's just rinse and repeat, isn't it, for a lot of
Exactly,
investors?
How does it, so you were spoken about, obviously you used to do mortgages, and then you went into the commercial with the bridging. Are there any different risks with bridging compared to a normal mortgage?
Yeah, just on the back of that as well, with you saying that standard like mortgage properties are regulated and then bridging is non-regulated.
Yeah.
What does that mean
Yeah.
in terms of like risk?
So with it, obviously, the property you live in is regulated. It's your home. There's a risk if you lose that home. It's your space, isn't it? There's a greater risk. With it being unregulated, you haven't got as many protections in place.
Okay.
From a regulated point of view. I would always say if anybody's looking at bridging, depending what, whoever your broker, make sure you've got a good broker, because any good broker will, before they fix you up with a bridge, is look at your exit.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because the last thing you want to be left with is a bridge that you can't repay.
Yeah.
You can't get out of.
Because that's when it becomes really
Or the
expensive.
the fees are high, aren't they?
Fees are really
Penalties.
high, yeah. So say if you took a 12-month bridge, so you can have your interest deducted up front, so you don't pay a monthly fee.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is it retained? That's called, it's like a retained.
Or yeah, you can have
yeah.
it retained. If you're buying a property, say at auction, if you're buying a property and it's tenanted and you've got an income, you could service the bridge, so you're paying the monthly interest costs if you wanted to. But the problem is, you get to the end of your bridge, say you've had it for 12 months, then there are penalties, like you say, Jade, and
If you're not ready
they can
to
be
come off.
quite hefty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You might be talking 5% of the loan that you've took out.
So it's really key to have that exit
Strong exit.
nailed on.
Absolutely. I would, I always, if I've got a new bridging case, I'll look at, okay, I'll work backwards. So what's the exit?
And like from a brokerage point of view, like how do they know what is a good exit? Like I know obviously within real finance, a lot have come from the banking industry and like yourselves, like the real estate industry. But how do you all know what is a good exit? Like what's everyone's experience on that?
So I think, bridging there's so many bridging lenders out there, and bridging can be like quite a quick win for a lot of brokers without really looking at the end goal. So a good exit is, what are you going to do? Are you flipping it? Are you going to sell it? So you need to think of your time scales. Well, how long's the build going to take if you're refurbing it?
Yeah.
And then you've got to allow yourself time to sell it. And what if it doesn't sell within 3 months?
Yeah. Or falls through, because
Or falls.
1 in 2 sales falls through now, doesn't it?
Do you know, I've had that experience, you know, and so when I first started, when I used a broker, like I didn't really have, there wasn't really, we spoke about the exit, but didn't seem that, not interested, but they didn't make sure it was nailed on.
No.
We just assumed that, right, yeah, we'll remortgage it, but we didn't explore anything more about timeframes and stuff and what happens if that doesn't come through. So it's nice to know that, like what you're saying, you need to make sure you pick that right broker, and there are brokers out there that will make sure that you've got it right and you know what you're doing, basically.
I suppose it's like anything, like what we all speak about, start with the end and work backwards. Because if the end doesn't work, why are you doing this process in the first place?
You're going to leave somebody in financial difficulty.
Yeah.
And, you know, we've got a duty of care. And, you know, that's not...
Could I ask one question? So I'm just thinking back for when I first started out, I didn't really know how to identify a good broker. So is there anything that individuals, if they are going to approach a broker, is there any certain things that they need to look out for, or particular questions that they need to ask to make sure that it's the right fit for them? You know, the broker works, do you know?
And also, where do you find them? Because we know where we find mortgage advisors, like you said, in the estate agents, but estate agents don't have commercial specialists in them.
Because a lot of things now on social media, things popping up all the time for bridging finance and stuff, but is it the right thing for them to approach that? Do you know what I mean? How do they?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose it comes down to the client themselves as well. Are they an experienced client already, or is it their first time investment?
Yeah.
Because somebody probably who's going to do a first time investment, they're probably just going to go to a bog standard mortgage advisor.
Yeah.
Who may necessarily, I mean, I wouldn't have had the knowledge when I was just doing residential.
Because it's specialist.
It's specialist. I did buy to let, but I didn't deal with any portfolio landlords. And they're not going to have the knowledge.
See, for me, when I started out, I don't know how I did it, but I just went straight to bridge. I don't know, like I didn't...
Really?
Yeah, so that's
really daunting, yeah.
So I didn't know what was good, and looking back now and the experience I've got, I knew it wasn't that great.
But it got you going.
But it got me going, so...
So did you go through a broker then?
I went through a broker, but I can't remember how I found him, you know. I think it was... honestly, it's that long ago now, I can't remember, but it wasn't... I think it was just through social media or Google or something like that, so not really done...
Much due diligence on them.
Just on a whim.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, our client base at Real Finance, we've started a presence now on LinkedIn, and that's kind of, I'd say, over the last 12 months.
And Instagram, I've noticed.
And Instagram, yeah, that's only, you know, that's the first time that there's been any real advertisement out there as to what we do. And I mean, it's been going, you know, a number of years now, and it's always referral, word of mouth.
Yeah.
Where you get the business and repeat business, and that's how the client base has built up.
Well, I know I met George. So George is the director at Real Finance, and I actually met him at a BNI meeting. So BNI, I don't actually know what it stands for. Business
networking.
We're just making that up.
No, it's nice. It's business networking. Something.
Industry?
Yeah.
Well, there's a networking group, a business networking group called BNI. I think they're global.
Yeah.
And it's a referral marketing scheme. And I had gone as a substitute for my friend who was a joiner. He was on holiday, and George was there as a guest. So neither of us was a member. And it was like the last 10 minutes or something, somebody introduced me to him, and it'd been in my head like the few weeks leading up to that meeting, I need to connect with a commercial broker because I'd got lots of questions going around my head, and I didn't know of anyone, and I was searching things online, getting like confusing things. So we only briefly, like, honestly spoke for like a couple of minutes, but he gave me his card, and then I got home. I remember I sent him an email straight away, and we arranged to meet like 2 days later for a coffee. And what I really liked is the experience. Like everyone had come from a banking background. They were, I don't know about yourself, Lydia, but I know like that George invests in property himself. So that was really beneficial. And just all the questions that I needed to ask, because it's really confusing when you start out, isn't it? It's like there's bricks and mortar valuation, but then there's commercial valuation. Can you get evaluate like on a HMO? And there's all these questions and you just don't know where to turn. And George really gave me that time to go through it all. And he's been fundamental to my growth and my development.
Yeah. It's like having that power team around you, isn't it? You need certain power teams to progress.
Absolutely. You need, I think you've got to have, you know, a good broker. And like you said, Chloe, do your research because, you know, you look on our website, there's a bio on each of us. You've got the core team. There's George, the managing director. You've got Kirsty, a specialist broker. Myself, a specialist broker. You've got George's son, Gaz. He's a specialist broker now. And there's a little bio on each of us. And, you know, we're from banking backgrounds with the experience. And so you want a trusted broker.
Yeah, I think that's key.
You know, and... Get to know them. I like to get to know my clients and build a rapport.
Yeah. Do you think it's crucial? So I think you mentioned there, do you invest in property?
Yes.
I think that's really valuable then, isn't it? Like if you're investing in property, being able to help someone else, you've got that experience.
You understand the process.
Yeah. You've done it yourself.
What do you do? Property-wise?
So this was when I was self-employed as a mortgage advisor, and I was thinking ahead of not having a pension, basically. And I thought, well, I need to really set something up. So I, it was when, do you remember when the Bank of England base rate was horrendously low? Like 0.5%, was it? I can't even remember now. I think I
was on like a 1% mortgage.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
Don't get me started what mine is now.
Oh, no.
Not mine. I've just had to do it. But, it was at that time and the rates had really come down. I think my mortgage was coming up. And again, someone had mentioned to me, another advisor had said, why don't you invest in property? So I thought, right, you know, rates are down. So I pulled some equity out my property.
So you were about to remortgage on your home, had the equity and took that out as well.
Exactly right, yeah. My mortgage payments did not change because the base rate had come down so low. So when I was remortgaging, fixed rates were lower than when I'd originally took it out.
That's great.
Previous, so they didn't move, which was great. So I purchased a buy-to-let. That was back in 2017.
Okay.
That was just a flat. I thought, you know, low risk.
Yeah.
I'll just like dip my toe in. Because then, you've got your leasehold charges. Yeah. But for me,
good to get started.
You know,
foot in the door, get a bit of confidence, I guess.
That's it. And it all depends about, as you know, as a client, you know, how risk adverse they are.
Yes, definitely. It does all come down. I know this, we're dealing with people for sourcing. Everyone's got a different risk appetite. Yeah. I know personally from my own like
yours is very high.
I'm really high risk for everything in life as well. Like I'm that person that drives 30 miles with no petrol. Ben hates it. Yeah. Literally every time, and he's like, why? It's been on red for 10 miles. And I'm like, we're fine, Ben, we're fine.
When it starts sugaring down.
One time we had got the kids, it was 4 a.m. No, sorry, it was like 11 o'clock at night. I was like, we're fine. I'm not joking. We just come back off holiday. So the kids were knackered and we broke down, and I kid you not, the petrol station was there. We could see it, but we couldn't get the car to it.
Did you not push it? Did Ben not get out and push?
Oh, it was this busy dual carriageway. The kids were screaming. We had to try and push it because it was in the middle of the carriageway.
Only you, Chloe.
And then in the end, we had to cut. Nobody could come for hours and hours. We could have bloody phoned you, Lydia. Got someone in the AA contact. Yeah. No one could come for hours, even though we were saying like, I think
got kids. It should be a problem.
3 kids. I think Lowen was like.
Did you not walk to the petrol station?
Get a little petrol car?
Yeah.
Because it was diesel, it wouldn't start. We were told with diesel you can't just, with petrol you can put it in. Or some cars, and the newer cars I don't think you can just start it. We did do that and it wouldn't work, but I remember, because this has happened to me quite a few times.
Have you not learned, Chloe?
No, Ben says this is like, why have you not learned? I'm like, oh, I just like to take risk. Anyway, we ended up getting a dodgy, non-official. We didn't know this until they turned up, and there was like only 3 seats for 5 of us, and like no seatbelt and stuff. But we had no choice; we had to get it, and we had to get tow trucked back.
Oh, Chloe.
Wow.
And I've still done it since. And Ben's like, "When will you learn your lesson?" So yeah, I'm quite high risk.
Live on the edge.
Not everyone, obviously. I wouldn't be like that with somebody else's investment, but not everyone has the same risk.
Just caveat that right there.
Yeah, I'm not like that. I'm low risk for other people.
It's not for yourself.
It's not for
That's a
myself.
quick question.
Yeah.
So you mentioned about, obviously, 2017, interest rates were really, really low.
Yeah.
Prime opportunity to release a bit of equity. Is there any, because obviously now interest rates are so high, there'll be a lot of people sitting on the fence thinking, oh, I can't do that. Is it the right time to invest? Should I hold on? Should I not? Would you, what would you say to people thinking, sitting on the fence? Would you say just go and like do it now, or do they need to hold off a bit? Do you know?
Again, I would never advise or tell anybody, what to do. It comes down to the individual.
Okay.
For me, personally, so with the stamp duty going up, it has.
Well, it has today. Are we on the first?
No, tomorrow.
Oh, tomorrow.
5% from tomorrow, isn't it?
Yeah. But on what? Is it 150?
On an additional property.
Yeah.
Additional property.
Yeah.
Okay.
But also from 150 now.
On
Yeah,
residential, isn't it? Yeah,
standard
that's changed as
residential.
well.
Yeah, and that's always, no matter what it is, on a
On a
second property.
buy-to-let, yeah.
'Cause it's 5%. It was 3%. Now it's 5%.
Yeah, because the one I'm buying, it's gone up like two grand or something.
Yeah.
Mine, when I bought the other one, that went up quite a bit. It made a big difference.
Did
in
it?
the numbers, yeah.
I think that's the thing. It's like at the moment. So I like my flats. So I bought another flat in 2022, I think it was. And they're on really good rates at the moment.
And are they in Derbyshire?
Yes.
Yeah.
But with how the rates are now, and this is for me, with the stamp duty as well, I don't think I'd move at the moment with, looking at anything else. Although you have got me thinking, Chloe, with what you're doing at the moment.
Well, I was going to mention this actually. So basically, I'm in that situation. Me and Ben have renovated properties and flipped them. And then and like lived in them and then flipped them. And then we got to the point where now we've got 3 young children. We've got that much rubbish and junk in our house. It would take us a year to flip a house that we live in. So we're kind of staying put where we are because we're in a really good location for schools and everything. But we've got a lot of equity. We've got like £300,000 equity in our home that we live in. But because... Well, Ben's self-employed, but he's been self-employed for over 10 years. Now I'm self-employed, but within my first year of business...
It makes it hard, doesn't it?
I can't get a remortgage. We were going to remortgage whilst I was still in employment, and then the rates went up and we couldn't...
Yeah.
We could barely pull enough out. So... Now I need 2 years worth of accounts to remortgage and pull that equity out. So for us, it feels like that money is just stuck there, not doing anything. Obviously, we've got a really good loan to value rate on the home. So what I'm doing now, the flip that I'm buying, I'm using bridging through Real Finance to purchase the property and then also the money to refurbish it as well. So the property is $258,000 and then we've got a £90,000 refurbishment budget. So all of that money is coming from bridging and obviously I'll pay the fees for that. And then my options then, because with bridging you do need to pay a deposit like you would with a mortgage product. So my option for the deposit was to either raise private finance or the option that I'm going with, which I know again wouldn't be
quite high risk, is it? Well, not high risk, but it's
It's not for everyone, but basically I'm getting a second bridging product out. So I've got first charge from on the property I'm buying from one bridging company. So the second charge is going on our family home, and basically that equity that we've got in the property, I'm not having to pull it out or remortgage, but they're using that as security, and then they're putting my deposit down. So that I think it was anything between 100, 110. Well, actually, no, it's 126,000, including all my stamp duty.
Is it retained interest?
Yeah, everything. That 126,000, the other bridging company are putting forward. So if anything was ever to go wrong with the deal, the risk is they can obviously come for my family home. And that's what wouldn't be for everyone.
It's not for everyone, is it? Yeah. But it's a way, you've got to be confident in what you're doing. And have that, again, coming back to your strong exit. Yeah.
And for me and Ben, we had a conversation and I said to him, like, how do you feel about us doing this? And he said, well, if we were in a position to remortgage, that money would be getting used for a property. So it's kind of, at the minute, it's the best option because we can still leverage that money and you can move the business forward. So that is something we're doing. Obviously, yes, the fees are high. I think I'm paying approximately £67,000 in fees across the two products. But I'm putting no cash down at all.
So there's no money down.
No money down, and the deal.
No physical. There is money down, but it's not.
I'm not physically having to put money in, other than I've had to pay my valuation fees.
However, if you was going to raise private investor finance, you never pay interest there again anyway.
Yeah, exactly.
Probably not as high because it's lower, but still.
You're going to have to pay interest. So I'm not having to put any cash in, other than I've paid about £2,500 for the valuation fees.
Your stamp duty as well?
No, that's coming from the bridging.
Okay.
And also, like you were saying, the strong exit, my deal has got like 100 and I can't remember off the top of my head, £140,000 profit in it. So take the 67,000
It's still
off.
a decent.
It's still a good deal.
Still good.
So you've got to have the right deal with the right exit. And it can work. So I think it is a good, it's thinking, because there'll be people listening.
Thinking outside the box, and it's thinking of a way around something, isn't it? I think that, like, what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know, but like a lot of people wouldn't have done that or not explored anything else. But I think
you don't know. You don't know,
yeah. So did you think of doing that, or was that suggested to you?
Well, I know George doesn't like it.
No, it's not.
And he's honest about that. So this is a service that he's selling.
Yeah.
And
it's different, isn't it? Sorry to cut in. I think it's different if it was against another investment property.
Yes.
That's completely different to it being your family home.
Yeah. And that's
where the risk comes into it.
Because there's potential that if it does go wrong, and sometimes you can't foresee things go wrong, and things do go wrong in property, like your kids are going to be nowhere to live. Do you know? It's a big.
That's the risk.
Yeah.
And that's what George, and this is what again I like about Real Finance is this idea coming to my head, and I thought, I wonder if that's like, how can I use this equity in my home and utilize it? And I put it to George, and he said, yes, it is possible. He says, we don't like doing it because I know your situation, Chloe. You've got 3 young children. You've got Ben. Like, that's your family home. I'd rather you raise private finance, and that's a service that potentially he's selling, and he was upfront and honest about it. But he said, if you want to do it, we can look at it. And also what he said is, if you want to go down, I was like adamant. I was like, no, I want to go down this route.
You've been so adamant.
And then he was like, do you know what? We can go down this route. And if in the meantime you raise private finance, even if you've already take this bridge on, we just pay the bridge off.
Yeah.
So the options are so flexible.
You're in a good position.
Yeah, really good position. So for me and my family, it is working because it's getting us from A to B.
Yeah.
And hopefully it will just give me that push along that we need. So,
and that's the key thing, isn't it? Because going back to when you were saying about picking a broker, you know, how many you want a broker who's honest with you.
Yes, and not
tells
just
you
pushing
what
a product.
the pitfalls are and what the risks are.
Because anyone's, I bet some other brokers could be like, yeah, I'll take it because they're getting a cut from it and what.
Yeah. That's it. And they wouldn't necessarily be asking the question, okay, so what if it doesn't sell? What are you going to do? Or I think like looking at the the term side of it. I think originally when George was going through last week, it was originally going to be looking at 12 months, and then I think we've played around with it and looking maybe extending it a little bit more.
Well, even like that,
breathing
so
space.
with you saying, that if you don't pay it on time, then you've got higher fees. So George played around with it, and I can take it out over like 15 to 18 months, and there was no increased interest, so it's a no-brainer. Just take it out for that time.
Do you know what? And I learned the hard way when I first did my bridge. Obviously, no experience, whatnot. I did it for 6 months.
Oh no.
Yeah, and
because you're thinking about the interest I've got to pay.
Yeah, exactly. But I was very cost mindset driven.
Yeah.
And trying to keep everything to thinking of what if I can't remortgage. I think beginner's luck, I did it all right. Do you know what I mean? I managed to.
And did you manage to pay it off in time?
I managed to pay it off.
Really good.
Very, very good. But now I'll never do anything less than 12.
No.
Yeah.
Just because, it's that the lull between being able to sell it or refinance. You don't know what will happen.
And in my case, I feel confident it will sell quickly.
Yeah.
But it could fall through. And it could fall through twice. And that adds.
And it might be no fault of your own.
Yeah. That adds delays on. So at least by taking it out over 18 months.
Yeah.
And if you pay it back sooner, your interest is less.
And you're not paying any more, exactly.
No, and one thing, when I did my 6 months one, it was very touch and go to be able to get it through, because you've got to own it for a certain amount of time before you can remortgage it, can't you, as well? So 6 months.
Some lenders,
so low.
Yeah, some lenders will do. Day one refinance, but then exactly right. But obviously, in that case as well, there's a lot of third parties involved, isn't there? You know, your solicitors as well.
Yeah,
that's another key thing in property. You really want to have a good solicitor that you're working with. That makes a whole world of difference.
Yeah,
and knowing, and I guess again, solicitors dealing with investment properties as well, because it's completely different, isn't it? To
not all solicitors know
conveyancing.
They don't all know bridging either.
Exactly right. So that's a key thing when you are looking at that and you're talking to your solicitor. Have they done it before? Have they got experience in that arena? Because you don't want that to slow it down. And, you've got obviously valuers as well.
Yeah.
Yes.
One thing,
waiting for them.
Just thinking from my experience, and it would be good to get your opinion. Around solicitors, it's popped in my head. So, when you're bridging, I know whenever I've bridged, I've always had to pay the bridging company's solicitors' fees as well. I think, is that always the case?
It is.
So it's something for people to bear in mind, isn't it, when they're doing the fingers?
Why is that the case?
Do you know what? This still baffles me now. So when I first came to Real Finance, it was like, in residential world, you pay your own solicitor fees. That's it. So then when I joined Real Finance, I'm like, why is the client, I just couldn't. That's just how it is in the world of specialist lending.
And no one knows why.
And it's, you
just
are
fees,
responsible.
And fees.
It's so specialist. You are responsible for their fees. And quite often in bridging, it will be, so have you heard of separate representation and dual representation?
Yeah.
So some bridging lenders now will allow dual rep.
Okay.
But there's not a lot out there. So we'll always, say to clients, when they're doing a buy-to-let term deal or a bridging deal, if there's an opportunity to dual rep, then it can be more cost effective. It ultimately is. However, I get that some clients have got their solicitor that they like to use. They can get hold of them whenever, and that's worth its weight.
When you say dual rep, you mean it's from the same company?
Same company.
Do both.
Who will deal with the lender's side and the client's side as well. But you're right. It's normally separate representation. You pick up the lender's solicitor's bill, and you've got your own.
And it's not cheap either, is it?
It's not cheap, no. And that I think
you always get. When I've bridged, you get a cheaper option if you want to pay it up front at the start, or you can pay more if you want to do it later on.
Oh,
yeah. Is that right? Is that right?
Well, I don't know.
The most recent one I did, if I paid it up front.
Oh, it's paid your legal fees first. Oh, right.
I got it cheaper, but if I left it a bit longer.
Oh, well, I haven't come across that.
I paid more. It's like I'm getting charged interest.
Wow.
Doing it.
Yeah, I've not had that on mine.
That.
Yeah.
Not come across that. No. I would look into that one, Jade.
What is the process? So if somebody was thinking, okay, potentially bridge might be an option, getting a bridging loan might be an option for me. What does the process look like, and how long does it take from start to finish?
So that's a difficult.
Not my recent example anyway.
No, yeah.
Jesus.
Do you know what? Every deal is completely different. If someone's, comes to me and they're looking for bridging, it's why is bridging appropriate for this deal?
Okay.
Like we said, if it's auction, if it's not mortgageable. And then depending on the size of the deal, like you said, there's a lot of costs up front in bridging. So where somebody might think they just need 25% deposit, really you need about 30%.
I'm going to say it more 30%.
Exactly.
Is that because of the retain? That's the retainment, isn't it?
You've
the
got
interest.
that, so your net day loan is going to be much lower because your interest's been taken off. Then you've got your lender's arrangement fees, which are typically 2%.
Yeah.
You've got your valuation costs, solicitors' costs. So, it's like an
all
endless
adds up.
list. So
What about lock-in fees? Are they quite common?
lock-in fees, I haven't come across
No.
any. I don't know whether that's something old school or I haven't come across
on
anything
quite a few that I've
recently.
done. I've had to do like a lock. I've had to pay a lock-in fee as well.
Right, okay.
No.
No.
Don't know what have I been using.
Making you pay things up
When
front
you say
and-
lock-in fee then, like an application fee, do you-
Yeah,
like a commitment fee?
Yeah, like to secure it in, and it's always like £500.
Right,
to
okay.
Is that like maybe the broker fee or something?
Oh, I don't know. It wasn't sold as it was a broker fee. It was a lock-in fee with the
lender.
The lender.
Yeah, so it could be like a commitment fee for some of like the term lenders, commercial term lenders that I work with.
Yeah.
Some will have like a £500 commitment
It
fee.
probably is that
so
then,
it
isn't it?
possibly could be that. Or there may be application fees
Yeah.
or admin fees.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
so yeah, just different wording,
Different
I
way, yeah.
suppose, isn't it? So where were we?
Sorry.
It's all right.
Finding out
But I think
why
it's popping in my head,
bridging
like, I don't know what's the
finance
question.
would be appropriate.
Yeah, why bridging is appropriate. And then obviously we'd go through a full client fact find with the client to see what their background is, their credit.
And do you have to have any experience in property, or could someone? Because like I suppose you did it without you did it on your first property, but can someone who's listing be completely from a different background but want to get into property? Could they be eligible potentially for bridging finance?
Yeah, bridging is kind of open to most people. So what we would do is look at, are you a homeowner? What does your assets and liabilities, income, expenditure look like?
Yeah.
Bridging is the easy part, I would say. So again, I would work backwards and I would be looking at what the exit is now. If this is their first investment and they want to term it out onto a buy-to-let mortgage, that's where lender criteria comes in, and it can be more stringent because then they will look at experience.
Yeah.
If they're not a homeowner, it can sometimes be difficult because is this a backdoor resi?
Oh, okay.
What do you mean? Like you're going to move back into it for them? Okay.
I.e., are they buying it on a buy-to-let because ultimately it's easier to get the loan amount because the affordability is on the rental. The rental income drives the loan, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Whereas on residential, it's the income and the affordability.
Yeah.
So that is just really key, that exit element. But bridging is quite easy for somebody.
Because you don't have to have, like with me, obviously my first year of business, I can't prove any earnings. So you don't have to have, like, say, minimum 25k of income to be able to get bridging, do you?
Bridging, exactly. I mean, they'll ask about if you're doing refurbs, your experience, like you've provided your flips that you've done, and they can see there's a good CV of what you're doing.
Yeah.
When it comes to the term side of things, then there are minimum income. Like you said, they might want last 2 years accounts or your tax returns. That minimum income could be 25 grand, 30 grand.
Because is it right if you want to say I wanted to go and buy a commercial property now and then refinance to rent it out, do you have to have landlord experience before you can do that?
They like you to have some buy-to-let in the background to build up some experience. Some lenders that may look at it. It depends on the actual deal.
Yeah, and the size of it, I suppose.
Yeah, but I mean, if you go in straight into semi-commercial or into commercial, it's
Bit hard.
there's no, there's no experience in the background really.
Yeah.
So you normally find clients will start off on buy to let.
Yeah.
And
So
then
from what you're saying
move
and from
into
what I'm
that
hearing,
arena.
it's like dip your toes in a little bit, but get a buy to let first, and then probably go into more
The commercial side,
of
if
it.
that's your goal. Yeah.
That's it, if it's your goal. And also it's like, are you doing this as a business, or is it like a bit of a side hustle? So mine's like a bit of a side hustle, if I'm honest.
How many have you got, Lydia?
Just the two.
Got the two. Is there plans to buy more?
Not at the moment.
Okay.
Not at the moment. I'll see how it goes.
Yeah.
In the future. But again, it's when I always say to people as well, have you got an accountant? Go and get tax advice.
Yes.
Are you going to be setting up a limited company, an SPV, or having it in your personal name?
Yes.
Because I don't know what's going to be best for you.
Depending
I'm not a
upon your
tax
circ-
advisor.
No, it's completely separate. But again, it's good that you, as a broker, you're asking these questions, because for someone completely new, they might not know, or they might be new to business and not know all of this.
Exactly.
And you're pointing them in the right direction. And also, again, it just comes back to the importance of your power team. And I think sometimes we think power team, our builder, our plumber, our estate agent, like that kind of power team, but it's not. It goes beyond that. It really is your broker, like you said, your solicitor, the accountant, the tax advisor, because they're the people actually you're going to be speaking to the most, isn't it?
And if you're especially doing refurbishments or going from a residential, into a HMO, then as well, you need to be speaking to your local council.
Yes.
Because what are the planning requirements? What are the licensing requirements? So you want, your architect there as well.
Yeah.
To make sure that that's going to go through, because you don't want to be doing something and then it stumbles when you come to finance it because you haven't got the correct planning in place.
Yeah.
So that's really key to have some, that as part of your power team as well, if you're going into developing HMOs
and things like that. And also, what I've always liked is, and again, it goes back to the right broker, is when I have been looking at a deal, both for myself and other investors, and I've put it forward to say like George, and he'll literally go through all the numbers. So it's confidence that you've got a second set of eyes who are experienced, looking at different opportunities every day.
Rubber stamping it, isn't it, I guess?
Yeah, and making sure, have you thought about this? Have you included that? What about this? Or on the positive side, saying, yes, that looks really strong and I'm happy with those numbers. So it's not just like putting it in on a whim, that it's going through it thoroughly, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's like, sometimes you might see something come in and there might not be, if it's somebody new doing the first refurb, they might not have built in a contingency.
Yes, yeah.
And that's a key thing, and you want to be working on about 10% within your figures.
Yeah.
To have that in place. And
I think for anyone getting into property and considering bridging, it really, really is key to get the right broker, isn't it? I think it's fundamental to, because the support, like I said, I mean, I've done property for a number of years, but from finding and building my relationship with George, just how much I've progressed knowledge-wise on the commercial financing side. But for someone completely new, it's literally like you're holding their hand every step of the way.
It is. It's like hand holding through the way. And, we have that at times with clients.
Yeah.
And it's, you helping them, educating them, and easing the process. And for me, from a personal point of view, since I came over from residential world to commercial world, it's like every day is a school day. And, I really draw on George and the team, and we all,
Bounce
from each other. And it's good, really, to have somebody who's been in the banking world for over 30 years with the experience, expertise and skill, who, like you said, it helps you and puts you at ease.
Yeah.
To sound things off and
because you do all type of developments, don't you? From, I know George last week was at development in Harrogate. I can't remember exact number of apartments, but like penthouse
Oh,
apartments.
gorgeous, yeah.
You do, obviously, you've got the development in Sheffield where 12 townhouses
Yeah.
are being built.
Looking
And then
great.
you've got my
Yeah.
opportunities going through for myself
Yeah.
and my investors, which are like flips or HMO
Yeah.
conversions. So it's a real range of diversified projects that you work with, isn't it?
Absolutely, a real mix. And what we're finding is, obviously, since the market has rocketed in value, but interest rates have also rocketed
Yeah.
in value, you've got experienced landlords who are looking for that greater return. So they are venturing more into the conversion from your C3 residential to your C4 HMOs.
Just for people listening.
Sorry.
No, I'm thinking, what is C3? What does C3 mean?
So your C3 is standard single unit residential. So you want your family.
Yeah, family house that you live
Family
in.
house, and then if you want to convert to a HMO, you see you've got multiple people living in that household.
Yeah.
It's not just one single
And you have to apply.
family.
Well, for some of the change of use, you have to apply to planning to
You
have it
do.
converted.
That's it. So we've got a lot of landlords doing that because obviously they're going to get greater return. You know, if
Better
they just
cash
buy
flow.
a single unit property and they rent that out, they might get £1,000 a month. If they convert it to a 6-bed all ensuite HMO,
Yeah.
they might get £4,000 a month.
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's a big difference in the cash
Big
flow, isn't there?
difference in the cash flow.
And again, for somebody looking to explore this route, how can they get themselves ready for commercial finance?
So I would say if it's your first time, so you mean like first time investor, never
Yeah.
How can
got anything,
Yeah,
get
no one has got
started.
anything. How can they prepare themselves before they go to apply for a bridging loan or something like that? What do they need? Is there anything they can do to get them they're accepted on the bridging loan front, I guess?
So I would have good credit in order.
Okay.
Credit's key.
Do you have to have good credit for bridging?
Not necessarily they will accept adverse, but again, it depends what the end goal is. If they're going to flip that property and sell it,
Then it's probably all right. But if it's
then it's okay.
Yeah.
End goal, if it's going to be a buy-to-let mortgage, and it depends how bad the credit, is.
Yeah.
If you're talking CCJs, defaults, it really does. There may still be a solution, but it does really shrink
The
your
amount
choice
of lenders.
of lenders. It could be that we can find a lender, but the rate will be higher
Yes.
Yeah.
than what it would be of mainstream.
So it's not an outright no.
It's not an outright no.
There's still options.
Still options, but yeah, I'd say your credit file's key.
Can I just add something to that as well? So I actually do have a CCJ.
Yeah.
And from the advice of George, I'm actually having it set aside at the moment. So that's something that you can apply
Yeah.
for. Basically, my CCJ was for £300.
For petrol?
Oh, no, but it was car related. So basically, I've always had a company car for the jobs that I was
Yeah.
at. Had a company car, and one of my customers, it's when I worked for a skincare company as a business development manager. They were a department store, and they wanted me to come into the department store for the day to like showcase
Yeah.
and trial the product, because they were a new brand with us. So I'd gone there for 2 days on the trot and parked in their car park, which is privately owned. It's a big retail park, and the guy who owns it is a big property investor who I know, and he owns the department store and all of the park. Anyway, I was there for longer than 4 hours, didn't even know there was any restrictions. So got a parking fine, but this was during like COVID, and the parking fine had gone direct to the company that I worked for, who were based in Ireland, or gone to the lease company, sorry. Then time it reached the company I worked for, in that time, I'd not only left that company, but I'd also moved house.
Okay.
And when I've spoken to them, there was a backlog because of COVID.
Right.
So the letter never caught up with me. So I never knew anything about it
Yeah.
until I looked on my credit file. That was the first I knew. And I was like, what? I don't even know what this is about. Didn't have any idea at all. So I had to go through it all, get to the bottom of it. found out what it was, which I was obviously completely unaware about. It's now gone on my file. And for the sake of 300, well, I mean, originally it probably was like £70 or something, but it's £300 that is defaulted, which I was like, can I just pay it? And they were like, no, it's on you because you've missed the hearing or whatever it is. I don't even understand it myself. But I've applied, to have it set aside and explained my reasons why, which they can obviously go through the record and check. So again, I just want to highlight, I have got a CCJ and I am doing 2 applications at the moment for bridging. Yeah. So I would say it's just about, having that conversation with a broker.
There's always a solution. There's a solution to everything, isn't it?
Is.
There's just probably higher cost implications and just
limited lenders.
Just different way you've got to approach it, isn't it, I guess?
You've just got to be open and honest. Yeah. Explain your situation.
That's a very good point, isn't it, I guess? Making sure you are honest right at the beginning rather than at the end. Because I get you do more at the front.
Well, this is the thing, and it's like no surprises.
Yeah.
So we ask, on our client fact find, have you got any adverse credit? If yes, please advise. And the amount of people, like you said, Chloe, we get it quite often. Parking fines, people have moved.
Yeah.
They don't know they've got them. And so it will come up within an application, and I'll be like, right, get me your credit report. Let's have a look at it. And you're looking through, and it could be, something related to a mobile phone bill, but parking fines are the most common. And
probably because people ignore them as well.
No, so it's really good. It's really key to always check your credit file.
Yeah.
Because you just never know. And
anyone can do that. You can go online. There's different websites you can do that on.
Loads, yeah. You've got Experian, you've got Equifax, haven't you?
Yeah.
Check my file.
So get the credit file in order.
Get the credit file in order, yeah. And I always say to clients, email it over to me, because, it can be reams and reams of pages, and, they might not necessarily know what they're looking for.
Yeah, or understand it.
Yeah.
Is there anything else that, aside from making sure your credit file, they're aware of their credit file, I guess, is there anything else that you need to do?
Regarding bank statements, and again, this is probably more aimed at the term side of things. I'm thinking from the underwriting point of view. But good conduct of your bank statements. So,
what do you mean by that?
So, staying within, if you've got an overdraft, staying within your overdraft limit, not having unpaid direct debits, because it can make a lender nervous if you're looking at purchasing this investment property, yet you can't keep your own finances in order.
Yeah,
if you're getting bank charges every month. Other times it's been where somebody might be doing lots of bets 365. And it's not necessarily that, they've got an addiction or a problem, but
it's a warning.
It's like doing 10 of these a day.
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily
that's really
send out the right...
Best stop doing bingo then.
Right message.
I'm joking. I used to love it.
Oh, bingo. Yeah.
I used to love it. I used to win a bit of money,
Did you?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Well,
yeah,
stop for now.
We'll stop for now, yeah.
Get your file in order. But that's really good advice, though.
So, so conduct of your bank account. Obviously, make sure you've got enough funds.
Yeah.
To cover your legal fees, unexpected fees that come up, your valuation fees, broker fees.
I know something I was going to ask as well. So you hear quite a lot within the property world, people talking about valuation pack, and obviously you've got both sides of this coming from the mortgage world. So I was trying to explain it to my friends the other day. Obviously, when we apply for a mortgage, you get a valuation on the property you're buying, but no one ever does a valuation pack. You just wait and see what comes through. But everyone within the property world, when they're having a valuation done, seems to do a valuation pack. What's your thoughts on that? Is it important, and why is it important?
Yeah, I think it's absolutely key. It gives you credibility as an investor. You've done your homework.
Yeah.
You've researched your area. We have a lot of clients that do it, especially if they're refurbing a property.
Yeah.
And they include, obviously, the schedule of works. So you've been worked through all your costings, and they'll look at comparables of properties sold within the area within a radius.
Okay.
Is
to
that a quarter of a mile of radius enough, or does it vary if there's nothing sold?
It varies. I think they like to keep within a quarter of a mile. But again, if nothing's sold, they've got to
expand it a bit.
Spread it a little bit.
Okay.
They like to look within 6 months, but that's really difficult with how the market's been lately, you know. So I do see valuers stretching that to, you know, a year, a little bit longer if there hasn't been, you know, the sales. But having your sales comparables on there in your pack shows you've done your homework, and it's kind of, you know, showing them that
this is where you've got to.
Yeah, exactly.
And do valuers, like surveyors, mind you turning up with a valuation pack?
Absolutely not, no. A lot of our clients do it, especially in HMO world as well.
Yeah.
They'll put comparables of ones that they know within the area.
Yeah.
To back up what they're saying, you know, this and, you know, rental valuations, this is what rent's being achieved. Talk to local estate agents as well.
Yeah.
You know, get their input. I'm sure they'll, you know, advise.
And what would be the repercussions of not doing one? Does anyone ever not do one, or would you just say always try?
I would always try to. If you are a serious property investor, you're going to have done your homework, aren't you?
Just apply that into a document and
yes, have your photos. So if it's the end valuation and you've done your refurbishment, you have your before photos in there.
Yes.
You want your after photos
to show what work you've done.
And be there for the valuation to take him round and talk through what you've done.
Yeah.
And highlight.
Guide them very nice.
Yeah.
This is the valuation that I believe this property is worth.
Yeah. And these are the reasons why. You've got to have your evidence, haven't you?
Yeah, you've got to back it up.
Back it up.
Facts and figures.
And not necessarily, you know, somebody who's just buying a single buy-to-let, they possibly wouldn't turn up with a valuation pack. But I think on the scale that you're doing,
yes,
it's really beneficial.
Yeah, definitely.
And again, it looks good on you that you've done your homework as well.
Yeah, that's good. I think that's really good advice, isn't it? Have you got any other questions?
No, I was going to ask any top tips, but I think that what you've said there, that covers that nicely. I've not got any more.
My final question, I know this was a big thing that I struggled with, and I think a lot of people struggle with, is particularly, I think it's mostly people looking at the HMO strategies. And obviously you have your bricks and mortar valuation. So this is your valuation like what you would base on a family home type valuation. But then there's the commercial valuation. So can you explain the difference?
It's also the hybrid valuation, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, the hybrid, yeah. So could you sort of give a bit of an explanation on the difference and when you might apply for either or?
So from my experience and the clients I look after, I tend to deal with the commercial valuations and the bricks and mortar, just those two, not necessarily the hybrid.
Okay.
But your standard valuation is your bricks and mortar, although I think there's another term for it now. I'm not sure of the term, but I'm sure there is now.
That's just the
George will tell me when I get back.
There's so many different things, isn't there, for the same one.
And that's like your standard valuation.
Your standard house, your standard valuation.
The open market, is it that kind of
open market valuation? Yeah. So what your properties are selling for in in the area, is it in line with the market?
Yeah.
Then you've got your commercial valuation, which a lot of landlords with HMOs, which are 6-bed, that really can't. So say if you've got a property 6-bed all ensuite HMO, that's very difficult to turn back into a single unit residential for one family. It's a very bespoke property, isn't it? So a lot of lenders will offer a commercial investment valuation.
Yeah.
So that will give you a higher valuation, because what it will look at is the rental income and the yield for that property within the area, which will give you a greater valuation than just a bricks and mortars.
Oh, I've thought of a question. Sorry.
It's okay.
I'll let you finish.
No, it's okay.
Oh, yeah.
So, for example, you could have had a landlord who started off with a 3-bed terrace, bought it for 200,000.
Yeah.
They've applied for planning, they've converted it in, gone up into the loft, extended on the back, converted it into a 6-bed all-ensuite HMO. On an investment val now, that would be worth about 400,000,
Wow.
and getting about £4,000 a month in rent.
Yes. Whereas on a bricks and mortar, it might be worth.
Well, you couldn't really value it on a bricks and mortar because it's so bespoke.
There's no other comparable.
Exactly, yeah. So
that, but if it hadn't been converted, that same property might be worth 250,000.
exactly right, just as a general refurb.
Yeah. So it's the difference between pulling all of your money out at refinancing.
Commercial valuations always make me nervous. I don't know why. Do they not you?
But yes, they did, and they still do a bit. But this is where I speak to George a lot. I think what's nerve-wracking about commercial valuation is there's no set. Right, this area you get this percentage yield, and this area you get that. It's all a bit of a hush-hush.
Yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. And I get this all the time with clients because they will try and, guess the yield that's going to be on that property.
Yeah.
And it very much comes down to the valuer on the day.
Yeah. I was going to ask that because when I've been looking at the commercials and stuff, like, is there a set place you can go to find out what that area yield is? Or because everyone always says to me, "Oh, find someone who's done
I
something
think that's
in that
the
area."
key. Find speaking to other
But
investors.
then people aren't forthcoming
no,
with
they're
it.
not.
It's like, oh, I don't want to share that information. And I find that really hard because I think
You need to know.
why is
Yeah.
it's not
Yeah.
really,
No,
why
you
is
need
it a
to
challenge?
know.
Why can't you share that?
Yeah.
I think
I would.
because it takes quite a while to build the relationship with the valuers, the
Yes.
agents, the broker, and it's a process, and you have to pay for that process because you've got to get that valuation, you've got to do that refurb and get the end val. So I think people are reluctant, and also then because then it does become, once you know that it is like a secret ingredient, once you know that yield, then you look at properties very differently. And if everyone
Yes.
knows it, there's a lot more competition. And that's
Correct.
what I think it comes down to. And that's why it's so hard to speak to anyone and get that. Because once you know that yield amount, 8, 9, 10, 11%, it's easy to work everything out,
That gives
isn't
you
it?
a number, doesn't it? And some I've had some clients where they've connected with a valuer, so they may have gone and done a valuation, and then on a separate sideline they've connected and are using them as a consultation. So if they see other properties, obviously they wouldn't be able to come in and
do a
value because
But
it's
they can consult and guide.
conflict of interest. Yeah. But it helps the client then, and it guides them in what yield would you put on this property I'm looking at.
It's getting a relationship
It's
going,
building
isn't it?
that relationship. Yeah,
I've
definitely.
got that with a valuer in the area that we're buying a property from, but now I speak to him about other properties. And it's just sometimes just saying, I'm looking at this, is this an appropriate yield, do you think, roughly, if I was going to do this, this and this?
Yeah.
So I think that's why people are so protective of, because it takes work.
Yeah.
It's interesting,
you're right.
definitely.
That's a good way to think
Yeah,
about
so
it.
there's no magic wand, is there, unfortunately,
There is
for
no
that?
magic
You just
wand,
got to
no.
do it.
No, absolutely.
But also, just going back to that, so the property that I'm working on for an investor, which obviously you are aware of, that's actually going to be a 5-bed HMO, all on, not all en suite now, but with 5 bathrooms. Oh, hang on, I'm confused. 5-bed HMO, 4 bathrooms, most of them en suite. But that one is above a commercial property. So we are getting commercial finance on that.
of
So again,
course.
there's a few, even if it is under potentially the 6 beds, again, there might be other options.
Exactly. It's asset based, isn't it? And it's quite a bespoke property. So
Yeah.
in that respect, a normal valuation just wouldn't
No.
come into play with it. It does need the investment commercial.
Side of it. Yeah. What was your question? Sorry.
It was around the commercial yield.
Oh, okay. Yeah. It's so tricky, isn't it?
Yeah.
Tidy up time.
Tidy up time. Yeah.
Yeah, I think
I think it's been really useful.
Yeah, it definitely has for me.
You think?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think that wraps today up. So thank you so much to our very first guest, Lydia Rock from Real Finance, who are our headline sponsors. And thank you so much for your advice today, Lydia. I'm sure a lot of people will gain a lot of value from that. And if anyone has any like further questions or potentially wants to book a consultation, where can they find you?
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you for having me. So you can find me on LinkedIn, and it's Lydia Rock. And we also have realfinance.co.uk, our website.
Amazing.
Perfect. I think that's been a really good session today.
I've really enjoyed it. It's been nice to have someone else with us.
Yeah,
isn't it?
to bounce ideas.
It's the first time I've ever done anything like this as well, so it's been an eye-opener.
Oh, you've been amazing.
Brilliant.
Thank you
Thanks for
so
having me.
much. And we'll see you again next time.
Real Finance have strong relationships with specialist lenders, eager to support entrepreneurs and business, providing unique and competitive financial solutions designed specifically for you. They are hands-on, supporting you developing your plans before seeking financing. They build long-lasting relationships with clients and lenders based on trust, integrity, and swift execution. Contact Real Finance today and let them achieve your financial goals.